Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Back, Fuchs. And the ball in behind Damian Vardy! It's 11! It's heaven for Jamie Vardy!
You are an ostrich. Well, your head must be in the sand. Is your head in the sand? Are you flexible enough to get your head in the sand?
Now the fans are shouting every week, Louis van Gaal's army! Louis van Gaal's army!
Feet after a fabulous start, the game just got away from you there.
I have nothing to say.
Nothing to say about the game at all.
Drama from day one! This is the league we want to watch!
International break, Sam. International break. It's over.
It's over. The last one for a long time. We're back.
Is it until March?
Something like that. February,
It's like
March.
It's late. I think it's late February.
Absolutely.
I thought they used to try to get one in January, but they might just take a regular break in January.
Yeah.
And then it's like the mini winter break is what they go for.
Indeed. So we're back
All right,
cooking
Sam.
with a classic
Yes.
narrative pod.
Oof. You know I love it. I know you love it.
That's a Hank special. Comes up with the topics, the juicy topics.
Oh yeah,
Taking a look
the
back,
best.
taking a look
Sim-
forward.
Simply the best.
We got it all.
We're gonna start off like every time we do. I gotta talk about Player of the Year.
Player of the year.
I want you to break down your top 5 for me right now.
Top 5? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Can't even
Normally I kind
name,
of come in with like 10.
I can't even name 5 players off the top of my head.
Well, you probably have to have Holland and Rodri. Is Salah Liverpool's guy? Because Liverpool has to have a guy.
100%.
Okay. Arsenal's guy is Saliba.
Okay.
So then that leaves one more spot.
Tottenham.
Is it just Madison?
Madison.
Is it Ollie Watkins? Is it Bruno Fernandes for title challengers Manchester United?
You know, I think there's only one option. There is only
Do
one
you think
option.
James Madison still? Even though he's been out for
No.
2 weeks?
No.
Oh. I'm ready. Is
Mo
it someone on
Salah.
Burnley?
It's got to be Mo Salah.
Oh, you're saying for the actual. I thought you meant for the last candidate.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh.
no, I mean he is going about his business. Yeah, it's
He's
weird because
flying
it's one
under
of
the
those things
radar.
where start of the year and you're like, there's the slight chance he could leave for Saudi Arabia, but you didn't really think that.
hmm
But there was the rumor right before the start of the year, and it's like, oh well, maybe. But I think we kind of knew that he had at least one more year in him, and he's proven it.
Yeah.
Holland,
sure.
there's something about as good as he's been, he has been relatively inefficient by even by his standards.
Yeah.
With 13 goals,
I feel like at times it seems like maybe he's just overcomplicating things.
trying too hard. Yeah, trying a bit too hard.
Last year he had a lot of goals that came, first touch type stuff. Now it
Yes.
seems like he's taking a few more touches. He's getting into good spots, but then, the finish
I
just
feel like he
hasn't been
hasn't.
there.
I feel like he hasn't got quite as much aerial service, or he's just maybe I'm just
Mhm.
blind and he hasn't been as efficient
Yeah.
with
Like,
his.
I think for sure the service is declined.
Yeah, I mean he has 3 penalties so far, 3 headed goals, but yeah, I think the service is the main thing, and having a bit of balance to the team. It feels like it's guys having to create more for themselves than you typically see in Pep's system with guys like Doku
Yeah.
out there, and you're not really getting the creative creativity, obviously, with a guy like Grealish constantly on the bench. Foden's been in and out at best of the lineup. He hasn't really been clicking.
Yeah. No Gundogan this year.
No De Bruyne to feed him.
No
So
De
that's part of
Bruyne.
it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Now let me propose a question to you.
all right.
Who is your player of the year so far for teams currently sitting 11 through 20?
Well, that's tough to say. I wish that Chelsea was in 11 through 20.
Yeah, so you could
Um,
say Ukraine Bolt.
Probably. Well, I mean, there'd be no
Well,
other
let
choice.
me just run down the quick 11 through 20.
Oh, I got it. But you do that while I think of people.
Okay, so starting off with 11, we got Brentford, Wolves, Palace, Forest, Fulham, Bournemouth, Luton, Sheffield, Everton, recently deducted 10 points, and Burnley.
I think I would be going something like this. In no particular order necessarily. Matthias Janssen. We'll go with Neto over Hwang Hee-chan. Joachim Anderson. I'm tempted to put Guehi or Etse, but I can't make up my mind. And then for Forest, I really don't know for Forest. Because that's kind of where it would have to come from, unless Bournemouth really wouldn't have anyone. Fulham, it would just have to be Paulinho, and he hasn't even been quite as good. But we'll go with Paulinho, I guess, for them. And then we'll go no one from Forest. And we'll go with Guehi for Palace. So Jensen, Neto, Anderson, and then Guehi and Paulinho to round it
Now,
out. For me, it'd be what?
what about Ducore?
He's been pretty solid so far, holding it down.
Yeah.
That midfield for Palace, especially how reliant they've been
Oh,
on
I'm
defense.
thinking of
On Everton.
Everton's Ducore.
That's fair. He's been clicking. He's been their main part of their attack, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
minus Jack Harrison swinging in crosses and stuff. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
kind of all over the place. That's a good shout.
Yeah, kind of in
No,
terms of like
no one makes it for you
vital
on
for the team.
Sheffield.
You know,
Ollie
Sheffield.
McBurney. Ollie McBurney securing a win doesn't get you a Player of the Year vote.
It's gonna be a no from me, dog.
No Wes Fodderingham. Constantly, it might be the most injury-prone goalie I've ever seen.
No West Foderingham.
I think if I had to pick one, I'd probably go Anderson, but you could talk me into Jensen or Neto.
Yeah.
And Ducor would be in that tier of Neto and Jensen as well. Very, very solid seasons, but Anderson's been, as the kids would say, different gravy.
Different gravy.
Yeah,
Indeed.
he's got that sauce right now. You
He
would
does
go
have
with
the
Ducore?
sauce.
Of anyone that I suggested, who would you say comes close?
Well, initially I was thinking of Anderson, but I think Hwang Hee-chan kind of hard to deny.
Yeah, it's hard to say for, Wolves which guy you would prefer. It really is a toss up.
Yeah, I think just the fact that Neto, with the injury.
The conversation about not picking Anderson would have to be once Etse gets going, he's going to carry their attack, and he's going to be
Yeah.
more valuable potentially to the squad. Not
That's
saying
true.
he for sure will, but potentially.
Yeah. Especially,
No, I
I
like
mean,
that.
if you consider, you have Anderson and Gahey together, opposed to kind of like Eze is kind of that one guy that makes things tick. Obviously, you have Elise, but I think Eze is just kind of on a different level.
Yeah, not to mention Elise hasn't been there really at
Yeah,
all
he's been
so far, and Etse's been in and out, but when he's in there, he's been box office.
instrumental.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Uh,
Shall we move on to the next?
yeah,
category?
absolutely.
We got manager of the year.
Yeah, who's it been so far?
Well, the
I would
stats
say
say Mr. Postagoglu.
Mr. Manager of the Month.
The back.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah,
so
unfortunately,
boring. So boring.
it's not him. Because it's whoever wins the league, we know that, but
That's true.
I was gonna say this might actually be like Pep's most impressive year as far as managing because the team's just not as good. Still got him in first place, but there's been a lot of fortunate stuff. Klopp,
Hmm.
in terms of kind of, his team's really clicking right now. Part of that's just they had such a good transfer window, but he had a big part to do with that. Little bit of rotation. You could talk me into it. Arteta has just pissed me off so much with his antics off the field that it makes me hard to, think about going with him.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
So maybe
yeah,
a
maybe
dark horse. I like to look at the teams lower down on the table that are doing better than they should be on
yeah.
paper. I think you got to say
Also,
Mr. Gaz O'Neill.
absolutely
Got to be in the
doing
conversation.
a lot with a little, to say the least. Gaz O'Neill clicking
Yeah.
for Wolves. Rob Edwards making believers out of us for Luton. I think it has to be up. It has to be in
I
consideration.
don't know if I'd go that far yet, but it's
um,
there. The base is there for sure.
yeah, if we're going bottom half table, Gaz has done well. If we're going lower top half, obviously, uh, Moyes has done well. I would say that
Unai Emery.
I was gonna say Emery. No one would ever agree with that. I would say Emery's been more impressive than Postecoglou, only because I think Tottenham is. It's just a little shaky right now. They beat up on some bad teams to start
Got some favorable decisions go their
against
way.
like Liverpool and stuff, yeah. And there's just this weird like PR thing with him where it's like
He says
when he
mate.
does things, yeah, where people, I just don't understand it because the whole Chelsea game, like all he had to do is play a low block and they probably draw, if not maybe even win off like a set piece or something. Like I just don't understand. But he gets away with that, and then they lose to Wolves, completely getting outplayed, albeit missing some key players. But every team has injuries. I would, if I had to power rank it, I would probably say Klopp 1, Unai Emery 2, and then Pep 3. What I would do
Okay.
for the top teams.
I mean, the
'Cause
thing I like
think
about
about the main thing with me about Emery is losing your captain and Mings,
yeah,
and still just rebounding like nothing happened.
right.
The argument against him is they can only like dominate at home, and they very much struggle on the road.
Yeah.
But what were you gonna say? I cut you off.
I was just gonna say the thing I like about Ainge is that he seemingly has breathed some new life into a stale Tottenham club.
That's fair.
It's hard to say the level at which he's done that. Obviously it's still very
Oh, it's
early in the
way,
season.
yeah,
Um,
but still, even the fact that what he's done is definitely an accomplishment because
yeah.
a lot of people didn't give him a chance.
Yeah,
And it's
especially
one of those
with
things coming from Celtic, you don't know what the tactics, you don't know how it's going to translate.
having your captain and a club legend leave just before the start of the season. Him coming in, getting that good start with Tottenham. Very impressive.
Yeah, he just needs to get something out of Richarlison now.
It's impossible.
Let me ask you, Sam, the title odds broken down by each team, percent-wise, what you'd put on each percent for each team, how would you distribute it?
At the moment, I'd say Man City probably at like 50%.
Yep.
And then I'd say Liverpool maybe 30%. And then I'd say Arsenal 10%, Tottenham 5%, Villa 5%.
Okay. I would probably go with it being City 40, Liverpool 35, Arsenal 15, and then the field just 10% sprinkled on.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm
Tottenham,
thinking.
Villa, United, Newcastle, Luton.
Chelsea,
Luton.
Luton,
No, not Chelsea.
Goats.
Chelsea will hang around, I don't know, 13th, 14th.
I love mid-table Chelsea.
Hey, at least they're exciting to watch now. That's something.
That's true.
They're
That's true.
they're back to that. For a while they were just brutal to watch, whether you liked them or not. It was definitely a I don't know, a chore watching them, if you will. But yeah, I feel like we have City and Liverpool a lot closer than most people would. Outside of Liverpool fans, we have to caveat it with that because you know how Liverpool fans are. They're bonkers.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like most people would probably say City like 80%.
Yeah, people just penciling them in for that. I just can't stress. I don't feel that way. How often are City reliant on like even their kind of role guys being like Oscar Bob and stuff, where it's like, I don't know what I'm getting out of that guy. You know? Do you feel me? And right now
Yeah.
they're people being like, "Oh, Matthias Nunes is slotted in well." It's like I still don't trust that guy. I got to watch
No.
him on Wolves. I don't know what he was.
Yeah, to me it seems like City have been declining for the past couple years,
Well,
but
I felt like last year, obviously they won the treble, but I felt going into the year they're just going to dominate. It felt like they're kind of big all-in push. Their squad was very balanced, but it had a nice freshness to it. But yeah, losing guys like Gundogan and stuff, and I mean, you don't want to say certain things about certain guys, but it's like John Stone's 29. I'm not saying he's going to be done or anything. Akanji 28, but they're right in the prime, and they'll be in the back half of their prime in another year or two.
I
They're
think
relying on guys like Kovacic, who's 29, but that's a lot of miles on a 29-year-old.
yeah. I think for me it's more like a decline in the product on the field.
Yeah,
Last year the squad was really good, but still the product wasn't always the best, and I think this year the squad got worse and the product isn't any better. It's
yeah.
like they're still winning, but
I think part of it too is a bit of a recency bias last year with the fact they won the treble, but they did have a pretty easy stretch to end the year last year.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Bernardo Silva 29. There's just a lot of guys, a lot of moving pieces. Who knows? The attack is young, so they have that going for them. But should we move on to our groups, Sam?
Yes.
As you know, on the Narrative Pod, people, what we do is I give Sam some topics, and I group about 4 or 5 teams in each one, and we go through and we're ranking these teams. We're looking at them. We're discussing them. We love to talk about every team, the big guys, the little guys, the medium guys. All of them. So Sam, let's start off. Teams with the most on the line from now until the end of the January transfer window.
Mm-hmm.
I got 5 teams for you. Chelsea, United, Everton, Newcastle, Brighton. First off, does that feel like the right 5 as far as the teams that have the most on the line? Because there's 1 or 2 teams I debated over one of these teams.
I think you could make an argument for all those teams, maybe in a different way for each of them.
Yes.
But yeah, I think
Is there one team I left out? Really, is all I'm getting at.
You know,
Is there
I
one
was
team where you
I
think
was
there's
looking
a lot on
kind
the
of at the
line?
bottom. You know, maybe Bournemouth with how much they spent. They've
Mhm.
spent a lot of money on their squad.
True.
So
Very true.
if they go down, that could be a real issue.
Yeah.
But
No, I completely agree.
yeah, with these teams, I mean, obviously Chelsea, they spent a lot of money too, crazy amounts.
Yeah. Let's
Pot-
get into these
potential
5 teams.
transfer ban.
We'll start with Chelsea. Spent a lot of money, high expectations. They're sitting 10th, 4 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses. They seem to be rounding into form, but yet it feels like they're better suited for, games where it's bound to be a bit more open, big games where these players kind of get hyped up for it. And it really comes down to, can they beat these small teams? Sam, can they win on a cold, rainy night in Stoke?
No.
That's the question for Chelsea. Um, a lot on the line for them, and we'll power rank these teams at the end. And there's even potential that they'll splash the cash in January, apparently. And like you said, you know, potential ban coming in, potential docking of points. Something tells me that it's not going to work out against Chelsea and City. Something just, I have an inkling, Sam, that they're not going to get punished.
100%.
Yeah. So, but although what I was reading is that it's not even about Bowley, but potentially past Abramovich stuff, which I thought was interesting. That they fibbed on some past transfers and like agent like fees and stuff. So it wasn't even what Bowley did, which is, I don't know, 10 out of 10 hilarious, like just funny. What is there to say?
Yeah.
Um, United. They're in no man's land of like they spend money on guys, they don't work out. They don't know if their manager's the right guy now. They thought they for sure had it bang on that Ten Hag was the guy. Now they don't know.
Yeah.
Their striker is one of the top scorers in the Champions League. 0 goals in 9 games in the Premier League.
Hmm.
Can't buy a goal. Bruno is forever just being questioned if he's the guy, and he's an elite talent as a playmaker. Rashford's disappeared this year. The main defense is hurt, and they're relying on Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. And
Yeah.
Onana has had some absolutely dreadful, dreadful moments. But he is rounding into form, as we've said. We bought Onana stock at the bottom. It must be said, and we're reaping a bit of the rewards. Did I leave anything out about United's case?
No, I
Where they have
think
a lot on the line.
I think I would just say like, you know, they like you said, they've invested in these players. They've invested in their manager, but somehow they continue to just be mediocre.
Yes.
You know, their recent results have looked good. They're like, you know, one of their better informed
They're
teams,
very
but
inflated.
yeah, they are
Bunch
just
of 1-0 wins.
yeah, they're not a convincing side. And you know, Mason Mount, he's a guy 0 goals, 0 assists in all of 2023.
Yes. Yeah, not good.
It's just
Not good from some
Yeah.
of these transfer deals.
I think United, the longer it goes on, the more they risk being sucked into just forever a mediocre team. And maybe
One
they're even
trophy.
cross that bridge.
1 trophy in 7 years? That sound right? 6 years? 7 years. Because I think they won an FA Cup with Mourinho, no? Or was it just Van Hal they won it with?
Um,
Doesn't matter. They won a
Yeah.
Carabao Cup with Ten Hag. That's all they've won in this decade.
yeah,
Moving on, Everton, another team, which happened right after our pod the last ep. Like, what is that? They break news the morning after, make us look stupid. Everton hit with a 10-point deduction over past transfer deals. Now down to 4 points on the year with the -3 goal differential. Sadness for the Toffees, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just a brutal piece of
They
information that
put
they received.
We were just talking about we felt they were good in terms of being out of relegation threat, and that it'd just be a matter of, how close to just regular old mid-table they could finish. But as they were kind of near the lower portion of mid-table, but now they're going to be back in that scrap.
I think this could go one of two ways. I think it could either unite the team and they push on, they get out of the relegation zone, they avoid relegation completely. They string together some wins, or it could just be like a complete downer and
Yeah,
they just get stuck in the relegation zone and maybe even go down at the end of the year.
but there's no way they just get like 1.2 points per game or however many they're getting before. They had what, 14 through 12 games? So on pace for like 44 points or something like that.
Mhm.
You think this is either it sparks them to play a whole lot better or they're just done. They're deflated and it's over.
Yeah. Personally, I think it'll.
I
I
think it's
think
gonna spark
it'll.
them.
Yeah, I think it'll spark them. I think the
Yeah.
players they have are good enough. I think Sean Dyche is kind of the right guy to get that out of his players.
Yeah, he's very much a us against the world guy, as you could tell with Burnley. Next up, Newcastle.
Hmm.
Sitting there. They've had a tough start to the year as far as who they had to play, but they're sitting there in 7th on 20 points, only 6 back of top 4. Um, Still a lot of expectations. Still have to balance European games.
Well, not anymore.
Well, you
Pretty
know,
much, right?
yeah, you know, unless a miracle, they could get Europa League, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Um, and then last but not least, Brighton struggling to start the year. Potential that their manager could leave in the summer. I don't believe those rumors about Real Madrid, but who knows? Maybe it's another team comes calling. Uh, I don't know. I put them on here just because my case for them is they risk kind of being a one-hit wonder team in terms of what they achieved. Think kind of the Southampton teams where everyone talks about them. They're like, oh, they're so good. They typically finish 7th. The one year they did finish 6th and get Europa League football. There's just a chance that that's kind of Brighton, and they had a 1-year run and they finished 5th, and it is what it is. And now they'll finish, 9, 10, 11. It's
Hmm.
a chance of it, but you don't want to slip into that. You just spent actual money on, guys. They spent like what 30 mil on João Pedro or something.
Yeah.
So there's a potential to become not necessarily complacent, but that the young products just don't evolve quite as quick as you thought, and they just don't hit. So those are the 5 teams we have to start. How would you power rank it?
1 second. Ah,
Oh my, bless you, bless your soul.
yeah, just one final note before I drop my rankings. I feel like Newcastle and Brighton are kind of in the same situation here. They're facing the realization that it's very tough to maintain your Premier League position while competing in Europe.
Yes,
Both teams
absolutely.
have been hit
And
with
even
injuries.
how about repeating the quality you had last year in the league?
Yeah,
This has not been the same Brighton team. And you
for
might
sure.
say, oh, they lost a couple key guys. They lost key guys like Trossard in the middle of the year and still were clicking.
Didn't even skip a beat.
No, so it's a whole new year. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I want to hear your rankings.
All right.
That's what I want to hear right now.
Most on the line, I would say Everton, because I
Yep,
think if they were to get relegated, it could
relegated.
be disastrous.
Yeah,
Second, I would say,
kind of gets
maybe
tough.
a Brighton, just because they're on the cusp of like breaking into that upper tier of teams.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, maybe it was a one-off thing, but obviously they're going to be trying to make it the standard. After that, I would say Newcastle just because they had such a great season last year. Looking at the table, they're sitting in 7th this year, looking like they're going to get bounced from the Champions League. So that could be a tough pill to swallow. And you don't want things to start piling up like that. You got to be resilient. After that, I would say probably United. What can you say? They've been used to the mediocrity, so I think a little more mediocrity doesn't really do anything to them other than, solidifies that they're a mediocre team. And then as for Chelsea, it's like, it seems like it doesn't even matter. Like, there's no consequences for Chelsea. Like, they just do whatever. And sometimes they finish 14th,
Sometimes good,
and sometimes they win the
sometimes shit.
league. So, I
Yeah.
don't know. They're a
I
weird
would
team.
probably put it. I had Everton 1 as well. Absolutely. I had United 3, or 2nd rather, and the reason I say that, and I like how you said they just accept their standards have dropped. Did you see that video Man City posted on Twitter the other day?
Every knee slide at Old
That's
Trafford.
that is like just ultimate dunk on disrespect. Doing that to Manchester United.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right. Maybe they should be lower in my rankings because they're just not a respectable team anymore. But they talked themselves into Ten Hag, the club, the fan base, everything, and now they just don't know if they trust him. As we've been saying, he's shaky this whole time. They're gonna let a couple guys go, like Sancho, in the window. They have a really tough schedule upcoming. They've had it on easy street to start the year for the most part. This could really go sideways and fast. And if they're firing Ten Hag in December, January, Sam, I mean, their whole season's going tits up, and then you're back to square one again.
Graham Potter's going to come in and take the wheel.
Graham Potter, they call him the English Ranić.
Exactly.
And then after that, I had Brighton. I just feel like, yeah, they're right on the cusp of that dropping out, but it's Brighton, so they don't care all that much. Chelsea, I had 4th, just because I think they still have to at least qualify from Europe in some capacity. If they don't, then I mean they have to pay less for certain guys that they put clauses in for. But I don't think you can let that be the standard, Chelsea. And then last, I have Newcastle. I don't think it would be the end of the world if they didn't get top 4 and they finished like 5th or 6th and got Europa League.
No.
It's at least Europe for them, and they're still growing. You can't expect to be a top 4 side every year, or top 5, I guess now, because the new Champions League. But with that said, it has been a little kind of, disappointing to say the least. But every team that kind of comes up when it's their first go around, in terms of like they win the league or they just get into Champions League, they have a rough go the first year, and it's always the second or third year you got to really build off of. So I put them last as far as teams with the most pressure. And like you said, they might just be out of Europe, and all they have to do is focus on the Premier League.
Yeah.
And or domestic cups. So.
All right. Let's move on to the next.
Yeah.
We got the worry scale on a scale of 1 to 10. And we got Fulham, Tottenham, Luton, Crystal Palace, and Nottingham Forest.
Let's start with Fulham, Sam.
Yes.
What is there to worry about? Oh, I don't know. Their defense, their attack, 2 very key components. Their midfield from a playmaking aspect. Defensively and winning the ball, it's fine with Paulinho. When they play Harrison Reed, he's been fine. When Harry Wilson plays, I guess from a playmaking standpoint, they've been a little better. But, relying still on D. Cordova Reed and stuff like that. And Willian has done well. It just hasn't been as good of results. Performances have been fine, but results have not been as good as last year. But yeah, really the attack, relying on Jimenez. Vinicius has not had it going. And then the defense, last year is just a lot of Tim Ream and Bernd Leno. This year it's just Bernd Leno. Tim Ream is kind of, coming back down to earth
Yeah. I think I'd give them a 7.
Yeah, I would probably go with an 8. I think
Yeah.
an 8's fair. I think that relegation is realistic. If I had to put as a percent, I would probably only put it at like 10 or 15 just because everyone else is so bad. But, you
That's why
know,
my rating isn't higher. It's just because the team's below them.
yeah, you might finish like 16th. It's just a warning sign. But, if we actually have a half decent team come up next year, which we will with Leicester, if you finish 17th, you don't improve, it easily going down next year.
Yeah.
So, Tottenham, Sam,
Tottenham.
started off hot, first place. They've now dropped to 4th after 2 consecutive losses to Chelsea and Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Madison hurt. Van de Ven, who's been amazing for them, hurt. Some injuries kind of just all over the team. And now Son on international break is hurt.
Yeah. I mean,
There's a lot of cause for concern.
I think it comes down to what your expectations are for Tottenham. I mean, for me personally, I have none. But for the fans who think that they're going to be challenging for the title, then I would put that rating pretty high up there because, 1, they've had very easy schedule. 2, they've gotten decisions to go their way, as we mentioned. And 3, now they have so many guys injured. So that's a huge concern. But if you're like me and you didn't really have any expectations going into the season, I'm not worried because, it is what it is.
I think my part of the worry scale for them was the idea that people genuinely thought they had a chance to win a title and stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, do we have to consider? It's like, no, you don't. Um, they're just playing real solid. They'll probably get European football, I would assume. I think that they'll have a drop off probably just because playing a little tougher teams, but also I think they might just be willing to chalk it up to a bit of poor injury luck and stuff, but
Yeah.
I would say probably, given I think before the year we had them 7 or 8, I forget. It was one of the 2 spots. But regardless, I would say if you thought that they were a title contender or even, at least top 5 contender, it should be at a 9. I would say if you thought like us before the year where it'd just be, whatever, to coast off those expectations and stuff. Because the expectations do change if you look a lot better and it's like, oh, well, maybe we will. But if you're going to go off the start of the year, 4, 3, probably a 3.
Okay.
So would you do? Or what are you thinking?
I mean, if I have no expectations, I'm giving them a 1. If it's like expectations that they finish top 4, I'd say like maybe like a 5.
Okay.
And if the expectation is that they win the title, I would say 10.
Yes. Luton.
Luton. I think
Lay it out.
Luton, obviously, they came into the season, they didn't spend much money. They kind of went in assuming that they were going to get relegated anyways. So that just kind of takes off any pressure whatsoever. So I would say their worry scale is probably at a 1, and they're just trying to enjoy themselves. And if they can manage the Great Escape, then so be it. But if not, then it's not disastrous because they haven't just spent a ton of money and are going to be screwed in the championship or anything.
I just meant from a term of staying up because they obviously didn't have much for expectations, but if you're looking at it from the perspective of can they stay up, how worried are you? Like
I'd say
6,
probably like
7?
a 7.
Okay. Yeah, I'm right there. 6 or 7. Give it 6.5. How about Palace? How worried are you about them?
Palace, I'd give them like a 4, maybe. Just because, although,
Not of going down. We have to specify what we mean by. I'm just talking
in
about that their
general
attack is going to be
performance.
so putrid.
Yeah.
Just the whole Roy Hodgson thing in terms of not really having a plan after him, what
Yeah.
you're gonna do in terms of attack and stuff, figuring out the whole striker component. I don't think there's any. Okay, I shouldn't say any world. There's a maybe 1% Palace go down. Not even. It's like sub 1%. So, I mean, it's just really that. Are you worried about the attack? And how worried are you about Roy Hodgson and their plan to replace him?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Roy Hodgson thing is definitely a concern. They've regressed back to Roy Ball with
2021 Roy Ball.
30% possession and just a dire attack. But obviously, having Eze back in there has changed things like immediately. And if you could bring back Elise into the fold, I think that would definitely change. But yeah, I think short term, not a whole lot of worry. There's a lot of bad teams, but long term, it's like, okay, what's the goal here? Yeah, what happens after Hodgson?
Yeah. So what would you put them at as far as just a worry for? This is more like a future outlook standpoint.
Yeah.
I'd probably have them at like a 4.55 kind of range.
Yeah, I'd say 4.
Okay. Nottingham Forest. Again, probably not to stay up, but in terms of to build on what they've done so far. Defensively speaking, I am significantly less worried. I have them at like a 2,
Yeah.
given what they were. I feel a whole lot better. Same with their midfield aspect. It does feel like, their attack has dropped off a little bit. Steve Cooper, not saying he's not the guy for them, but is there a world in which they move on from him? Their future just kind of seems uneasy. I don't know why. And partially it's the ownership and the board that they have. Just feels like it could be kind of dicey. But what do I know? What is your worry scale for Forest?
It's interesting that you say that you feel kind of uneasy going forward. For me, I see Forest kind of as leveling out this year. They've been more consistent. Maybe not the high highs in terms
Yes.
of the attack that they had last season, but overall their defense is much better, and I think you're just getting a more consistent product, which I think in the long term is more
Sustainable to stay up.
sustainable.
So you
Yeah,
got him at like a 1 or a 2? Because I had him at a 3.
I think a 3 would be fair, just because the attack hasn't been,
Yeah,
very good.
true.
But the
I mean,
defense
I'm
is
worried
much
about the
better.
fact that they're celebrating goals in the 65th minute by taking their shirt off. That does worry me.
That is concerning.
That's
Yes.
yeah. You don't want people just celebrating that soon. Are you kidding me?
Especially in this
You do
day
that for
and
like a
age
90th minute winner. Yeah.
when you
What are you
got
talking about?
10 hours of added time.
Yeah. Celebrate too soon. All right. Let's go to the turnaround phase. In this
Yes.
group we have Sheffield, Bournemouth, Burnley, Man City, and Arsenal. A little variety here. Turnaround, Sam. Is it a possibility for Sheffield? We've seen a couple results now lately.
Yeah, we have. It's I mean,
All it took was one to bounce their way.
Yeah, right. I still can't sell myself on Sheffield United. I think the one thing that they have going for them is Cam Archer somehow makes things happen out of nowhere. But I need to see a little bit more before I even want to take a sniff at believing that they can turn it around.
100%. I think that their turnaround capabilities are still pretty small. I think that they're fundamentally flawed in terms of they just don't really have a playmaker except for one of their number 9s. They don't even really have ball winners in midfield and defense. It's more just like kind of guys who can stand there and block shots. And they have the worst goalkeeper in the league. So I have no faith in a turnaround for them.
That's true.
And I'm not afraid to say it.
Yeah.
Bournemouth, on the other hand, they've even shown a little bit more life with back-to-back victories.
Yeah. And I think the thing that Bournemouth have going for them is they have a much better squad than Sheffield does.
That is true.
We talked about a little bit earlier. Bournemouth have spent a lot of money reinforcing the squad. They've got some quality players in there. They just haven't quite clicked yet under Iraola. And I think it's definitely a
Who's to say
possibility
it
that they
still
do.
does, but it could happen. But who's
Yeah.
to say it does? You never know.
And who's to say that it does, but also it might be that they can turn things around, but it might just be under a different manager.
True. I think that the talent's still obviously there. I think that the way that they were playing as far as having such a huge gap and their press just not being effective whatsoever
Yeah.
is like just really bad. Really, really bad. So, it's been tweaked a little bit. The press has been a little more efficient. They're not doing it quite as much. Looked a lot better in that Newcastle game, to say the least, but Newcastle were kind of lackadaisical and asleep. I'm just glad to see Dom Solanke's rolling. As long as you can score goals, Sam, my rule for teams near the bottom, as long as I have faith you can score goals, I have faith you can stay up.
Yeah.
So when you get in that Sheffield and it's like where the goal's going to come from, even if it's like I don't know who's going to score, but it's still like, oh well, set piece, they'll swing the ball in. Who knows? Kind of like Luton at times. At least I know that I can count on you for one or two of those, in a few games. But if
Yeah.
I can't even count on that, I don't trust you. Speaking of teams I don't trust, Burnley. I
No.
don't trust them, Sam. A
No.
team got docked 10 points and they're still above you. I can't trust you. And this whole Vincent Company thing is gonna bit dicey. This whole
Yeah.
kind of his tactics, they're spending on guys.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of some of the stuff Leeds was doing at the very end. Even then, Leeds was bringing in a few better guys than what Burnley's bringing in, but the whole oh, this guy, he was good in this league, therefore that's going to translate. It's like I don't know if you can think that way in terms of just saying penciling in young guys will translate because they're good in one particular league. That wasn't the championship or something,
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen anything, and obviously with Lyle Foster being out for who knows how long, that's a hit to their goal scoring, which is already lowest in the league. So, yeah, I don't see it. Burnley.
It also feels like they're kind of going for we just have a bunch of guys and the best guy is gonna pop out and do his best. It's like no, because you have to give some guys run of form, give them a little bit of time. But if you have so many guys, you really can't. Your squad's too packed, and that's
Yeah.
kind of how I feel because they're starting like Jay Rodriguez and stuff, and it's like, what happened to Koleosho and stuff getting starts? And it's just like, nope, he's not. And they're like, well, Wilson Odebert, and it's like he scores one goal, therefore he gets to start the next 3 games, and it's like he did nothing besides that goal. There's nothing promising. So I just think that they're kind of in over their heads at the moment.
Yeah.
Is that the way you describe it?
Yeah, 100%. I think they thought they could pull off this youth movement, but when it comes down to it, it's just you need some leaders to step up and
You need
perform.
more Brexit ball mentality in your team, and Nathan Redmond's not that.
No. Man City.
Man City. Yeah, Man City turnaround. And what I mean by this is the idea of them being dominant, like people think they can and should be, which I know you and I both think they should still dominate. It's
Yeah.
Man City. But how likely is it? How much faith do you have in them? Because for me, I think it's possible if they bring in 1 or 2 guys in the winter window. And it kind of has to be a guy who's a bit more like a 10. And I think there has to be an actual just 6. A ball winning kind of 6 that can kind of, whether it's just spell Rodri or back him up. Maybe even a guy who's like an 8/6, because I just don't think they have that guy.
I don't think for me it's if they can. I think it's more of a matter of when.
Yeah.
I think with City, it's just what they do. We saw it last year. They didn't start very good, but then they just turn it into overdrive and they go full cook and it's over and no one can compete with them. So I think it's just a matter of time. You know, Holland will really start scoring at a higher pace.
I don't think it's possible until they get De Bruyne back. I think they're just going to kind of linger in the meantime. I think they're just going to play as they are, where it's like they're definitely beatable. You can catch them on the right night. You can get a win. But I think that they'll be right in that Liverpool Arsenal class until they add one or two guys, or at least get De Bruyne back.
Okay.
Arsenal, your club.
It is indeed my club.
Turnaround. We need a turnaround on the attack. We need a turnaround from Mick Arteta's personality. Specifically when it comes to squad rotation in your goalkeeper situation.
Yeah.
Defense, I guess, is fine. Maybe a turnaround from the fact that you don't play Kivior, who's goaded all the time. Maybe a little bit of turnaround from midfield. Some of the aspects there, I wouldn't say have me concerned, but slightly worried. Just the tiniest bit, like 2 out of 10 on a scale of being worried. And mainly it's kind of facilitating, not necessarily playmaking, but facilitating and winning the ball, besides Declan Rice. And yes, Declan Rice can do that, and he's amazing, and you can always rely on him. But it's also nice to have a second guy who can do that, is it not?
Yeah, sure. I mean, not having Thomas Partey has been definitely a loss.
Is he going to leave? Is that a thing? Is that actually going to happen? I keep seeing rumors about it.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
He just gets hurt too much. Like, why would anyone want him for, any
I
amount of money?
never question Spanish and Italian teams because I don't know what goes through their mind, and I don't know who's motivated just by going to Saudi Arabia for money. That's a personal thing that I can never look into.
Yeah. So for
I just
me,
feel like as good as Jorginho is, and the flashes we've seen from the small, tiny flashes we've seen from Vieira and Havertz, it's just tough to rely on those three. Specifically Jorginho too. Just, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he's almost 32 years old, Sam.
yeah,
And guys can play long. Not saying that it's just like a whole age thing, but he's had a lot of minutes too. A lot of European games and stuff. So I don't know. He might just be missing a step. Also, they need to figure out how to get Smith Rowe into the squad more frequently.
yeah. I would say for me, Arsenal, I think there's a good chance that they can, quote unquote, turn things around because I don't think they've really played a good game, outside of like thumping Sheffield and Bournemouth.
Okay, yeah.
At all this season, yet they're still in third place, a point off the top. So if you can, still manage to find a way to win games, even when you're not playing well, I think, that's not a bad thing. I think also there's been the issues of Odegaard playing through injuries, Saka playing through injuries, obviously Gabriel Jesus injured.
With the most potentially interesting quote a striker could ever have of, he doesn't care to score goals, or what did he say? Did you see that?
That's not really his strong suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. I don't know how else I would describe your strong suit because you score goals.
I
But
mean, he scores goals for Arsenal pretty well. I think,
yeah,
Brazil's a different beast because there's just so
anyone
much
and
pressure.
everyone's going to be and there's balance. Um, yeah, I think that depth is something that they will have to look at, and then finally the attack, getting Saka rest, getting Martinelli some rest, knowing that you can just play Eddie and Nketiah against any like bottom 10 team and you can get away with it, but like it doesn't feel like Arteta knows that, and Arsenal fan base doesn't know that. Constantly using Leo Trossard when he's hot. I don't know. It feels like as an outsider, these are very simple things, but yet Arsenal makes it very hard on themselves. Do they not?
Yeah, and I think one thing too, got to get the vibes right. The vibes are off.
Yeah, and it's Mick Arteta's fault. It must be said.
Oh yeah, he over tinkered. The goalkeeper
Yeah.
situation, bringing in Havertz for 65 mil, those are negative vibes.
Yeah. What about the donkey, bro? The donkey man.
Well, he's our new starting left back, so
Yeah, Arsenal's left back depth is scary.
Tomiyasu goes
Eyes
forward.
emoji. Might as well. I have more faith in him taking like a one-on-one shot with the goalie than Kai
Yeah.
Havertz.
Me too.
That's not even a question.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen his hold up play.
Yes.
Brought that one
You
ball
put
back.
him on as the new Fellaini.
Yeah. Stick him up there.
Yes. So is there any of those teams we listed that you have no faith can turn around? Sheffield, Bournemouth, Burnley, City, and Arsenal turn around to the. We have faith that they can turn it around to what they did last year. Is really what we're getting at.
Yeah.
It just might take more time, and maybe one or two stipulations. But Sheffield and Bournemouth, Burnley, you have any faith that they can turn it around to what we thought they could
Sheffield
be or to
and
survive?
Burnley, absolutely not. Bournemouth, maybe.
Okay. Let's fire through the last topic. You want to do stocks, buy and sell stocks on these teams. I offered you to do crazy pills, which is you just give the most obscene hot takes possible on these teams.
I don't feel like I have hot takes for these teams.
I know this ended up being my last category for a reason, and I was like, I really don't know.
I just gotta
Stocks.
like the rest of the bunch.
Yeah, buy or sell Liverpool. We're buying Liverpool stock, and by
Yeah.
buying stock we mean that they will compete for the title, that they'll finish as a top 2 team.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to talk about in particular with Liverpool that has stood out to you lately?
I just find it so weird that it's not like a mainstream thing that Liverpool are like title contenders.
I think it just has something to do with personnel and people just not used to who they have compared to who they used to have.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit different. It's not Firmino. It's not Fabinho. It's not Mane. It's Szoboszlai. It's McAllister. It's different guys.
Yeah.
But yet, you still have Salah clicking. You still have Alisson. You still have Brent.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Golden State Warriors winning the title, and they have like not Iguodala, but it's Andrew Wiggins. It's something different, to cross sport reference. But I'm absolutely buying stock. If we were in a betting state, I would be doing futures, and I would be sprinkling money on Liverpool. Aston Villa, Sam, are you buying their stock as like Champions League contender?
I don't think
qualifying contender.
I don't think I'd buy because I don't really see
hold?
too much of an upside. I
You
would
hold their
absolutely
stock?
hold.
Yes.
Absolutely hold.
Yeah. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind about them that you really wanted to talk about?
I mean, they just kind of like quietly go about their business at home. They've been
I want to see that road
immense.
form get better.
Yeah, I do want
And
to
I
see
think
that.
it's one of those things where it will never get it because that's just they are who they are. But I
Yeah.
really want it because that's the next step, and we all know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
West Ham, buy, sell, hold.
West Ham, I'd say probably sell. I don't really care for
Okay.
the way that they're playing. You know, the way that they were playing, it was kind of like, okay, we're gonna sit back and then we're gonna punch you in the teeth. And now it feels like
Yeah.
we're just gonna
Well,
sit back.
smash and grab. I think I would hold, but you do the classic take your gains where you can. You know, if they creep up to like 6th or 7th place, I'd sell my stock then. Sell a little bit. They drop down to 11th or 12th. I'll dabble. I'll buy a little more. I think they're better than, 12th or 13th.
I just don't
Um,
see him moving up more than maybe a spot.
yeah, exactly. That's why, hold just in case. But yeah, this is near the pinnacle. Brentford might be the ultimate hold. You
Yeah,
gotta figure out what they do with Tony. They have some injury issues. Their main guys aren't hurt. You got to see if Mbuemo starts popping off again. They're just kind of a hold, I feel like.
yeah, definitely a hold. They haven't been playing all that great, but still managing to get some results. And
All
yeah.
right, here's your real question. How high are you on gas? Are you buying, selling, or holding Wolf stock?
You know, I mean, looking at the teams below them, I feel like they're better than all the teams below them. Uh, I think they could surpass Brentford potentially, but honestly, I could see them passing West Ham at this point too.
Hmm.
You could maybe buy, but
Power of gas.
obviously the
We were
value.
so low on this team when it was Lopetegui, and he's like, I think I'm gonna leave.
Yeah,
And they could have brought in anyone, and it would have sucked because it's gas. We're like, you know what?
obviously the value would have been like a month ago, but I still think there could be potential value, but not a whole lot.
Through January, the only top teams they really play, I guess, are United, Brighton, Chelsea, and Arsenal. They also play Fulham, Burnley, Forest, West Ham, Brentford, and Everton.
So
Not
there's a
a crazy
potential
run. Yes,
for some
gentle
good
is a good way to
points.
put it. Gentle is a very good way to put it. I think I would hold. As crazy as that sounds, I don't want to get too aggressive. They could easily shoot up a little bit, and at that point, I might sell a little bit. But I think I'd hold for where they're at. All right. Uh, any predictions for any transfers as things stand? Do you have anything in mind? Is any team gonna get a certain guy, or maybe we haven't really
That's
thought about it, or anything? Is there a certain thing that stands out in your mind, like this team needs this kind of position as far as the kind of contenders?
I mean, I think Arsenal could use a 9, but that's not going to happen. I don't think they're going to buy anyone in the winter window just because of the spending in the summer.
Yeah,
Liverpool, I can't really
I
see
could see
them.
Arsenal get like a depth piece for midfield, just like
Yeah.
a 25 mil guy.
City, I don't think you could rule it out. Going
Yeah,
and splashing a
I
little cash.
Yeah, I just don't think it'll be a defender like they were doing. Obviously, they're pretty set on defense.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't rule out maybe Villa bringing in a guy just
Yeah.
for some center back depth. United will bring in just some sad case of a signing on a free or loan or something.
Yeah, some random loan.
Newcastle, can I guarantee one? Ruben Neves. Now that you can just loan players from your second club,
Yeah, pretty much.
Ruben Neves will be going to Newcastle. Um, do you think Chelsea goes hard for Tony or Osimhen? I just don't see it. I think Brentford's
Yeah.
gonna sit there holding Tony for the rest of the year, and I think he goes in the summer, whether it's Arsenal or Chelsea or, you know, I don't know who else it could be. But I just think that's maybe United.
Hard to say with Chelsea. You can never really tell what the hell is going to happen with them
Bully's a maniac.
in all facets of the club.
Anything for the bottom half of the table? Pauline, did you see Fulham might sell Paulinho for less than they got offered in the January window to move him?
I think that would just seal their
That they're gonna
relegation.
finish like 17th. Yeah. Bournemouth won't spend. Does Luton bring in any former old kind of player?
I hope
They
so.
bring anyone?
Bring in Juan Mata.
Boy, wow. That would be quite the signing. Um, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe Palace bring in someone. Who knows? Doubt it, but you never know. Any managerial changes you feel like are coming? Anyone gonna get the sack?
Well, I think Paul Heckingbottom is not long for this world, but that comes as no surprise.
Then again, I feel like it would have happened by now. That's what I don't get. Like, what's the
Yeah.
point of doing it later? Like, he's
True.
been so ass already.
That's true.
I feel like Ariola's still not off the hot seat. Marco Silva, he's one blow up away. Roy Hodgson still, like, health wise and stuff concerns me. Unfortunately.
Yeah, more like a
You just never
stepping
know.
down.
Yeah. Yep.
I think the most interesting thing for me is going to be seeing how long companies' leashes.
I think they just let it go.
Because I feel like he's got a really long leash.
Yeah, and I think they're just gonna keep it after what he did last year, and he might just become the new Daniel Farka with Norwich.
Oh boy.
Also stepping down potentially Moyes. I know they said end of year. There is a world in which West Ham just kind of goes sideways and it doesn't work out, but I don't think that'll happen. I put that like 10%, 5%, but you never know.
Yeah, not
I
this
mean
year.
the big fish has to be Ten Hag if things just go completely south for United.
Yeah.
I would still bank on it being Marco Silva 1. And again, I have no proof for that, but that's what I would put.
I think that's definite possibility.
All
I
right,
think I would still say Heckingbottom.
That's fair. Should we get to some predictions for the fixtures this week?
Indeed.
Why is there only 2 games Sunday? Come on. I like a nice 7-3. That's my ideal balance.
Yeah.
I like a nice two games at 8 a.m. on Sunday, and then the 10:30 game.
No one likes a Monday.
This Monday.
Game.
Yep, get it out of here. Get it out of here.
Give me Friday or give me death.
No, I'm telling you, 7-3 is that's the Keno balance of the Premier League. 7 Saturday, 3 Sunday. It's perfection. It's perfection. You got the 6:30 game, you got 5 9 o'clock games, and then you got the 11:30 game. Bada bing, bada boom, Sam.
Indeed.
Let's get to it. City Liverpool. This is a 6-pointer for the relegation zone.
Yes. Very much so.
You got to tell me what you're looking at in this one. Because when these teams meet, it's ultimate chess match at the Etihad.
Yeah. Obviously, Liverpool, they've been kind of starting games slower. Will City take an early lead? I think that's definitely something that could be on the cards.
Mm-hmm.
I think this game does a lot for the title picture. You know, if Liverpool wins this game, I think people will finally realize that they are legit. And I mean, that sounds like insane to say, but you know, for some reason it has come to this. But
Do you know that Liverpool and their squad have 6 goalies?
that's a
Doesn't
lot.
that seem like a lot? Yeah. I'll be really interested to see. I know your boy Shimikas, very, very serviceable. I just worry about big games. You never know. The drop off there compared to Andy Robertson. I feel like I like Liverpool's midfield more than City's. That might sound crazy, but I think I do. And this might be the first time that I've ever said that. As far as attack goes, pretty balanced. I do like Liverpool's creative side a little more, but At Man City, it's going to be tough. I'm just going to go for it, Sam. I'll say Liverpool 2-2. Actually,
2-2.
I was going to go 2-1, but I'm going to go 2-2.
2-2. He almost went for it and then he walked it
I
back.
know, couldn't do it. Don't have the testicular fortitude to do it. We're going 2-2.
Yeah, man, this is
Do it.
it's a toss up. I think
Do
you
it,
gotta
Sam.
give
4-0 City.
City the edge just because the home field advantage.
Okay, you're going 2-1,
I'm gonna say 3-2 City.
3-2. Burnley West Ham, a little claret and blue battle. Although you ever notice Burnley's new badge is just the claret and white. There's no blue on it.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. I kind of like that better, I won't lie.
Yeah.
This one will be interesting at Turf Moor. I mean, if Burnley haven't turned it around by now, it's hard to envision, but we always say this is the Southampton range of there's like 10 games upcoming. If you ever have to get hot during the year when you're a bad team, this is now. Get hot when you have 10 straight games and you can just fire through it. Could make or break your season.
Yeah.
West Ham, Burnley do like to hold the ball, so maybe West Ham sit back a little more. I hope they do, even though they haven't really lately. Have a little physicality. I do feel good about West Ham in this one. I'm gonna go 3-1 West Ham.
I'm gonna say 1-0 West Ham. A little grind out. Victory.
How about this game being the USA game over Chelsea Newcastle?
Yeah, that's interesting, to say the least.
Very interesting.
Although it says there's 2 USA
Two
games.
USA games, yeah, that Brighton Force. Regardless,
Split
Chelsea
screen.
Newcastle's not one of them. Luton and Palace.
Now, why isn't this the USA game? That's
USA game. This should be like state mandated. You have to watch this on NBC. This should
Yeah.
be like North Korean
State
level
TV.
propaganda. Like you have to watch this and say how great it is and
Yes.
observe it. I mean this one. How do you feel about Luton in this one, Sam? Is this one they could pull out, or Palace's defense you'd have a lot of faith in?
Yeah, I think it'd be tough with the defense. I don't think I see more than one goal in this game, and I think
Also, I feel like
Palace-
Palace is going to dominate the midfield. That's where it is for me.
yeah,
I feel like they got that on lock. I'm going to go 1-0 Palace.
yeah.
If
1-0
anything,
Palace.
I'd lean closer to 2-0 Palace, but we'll go 1-0. Chelsea, Newcastle. Newcastle still coming off some injuries. A couple guys will still be healed. I think Isak will be there, and potentially Almiron will be there. Doesn't mean that they'll start, but they'll at least be available to play. Okay, I said Liverpool have 6 goalies, but I think the app is messed up because they're showing Edouard Mendy still on Chelsea. So I think that this app, the Premier League app, is just broken. Because Chelsea have like 7 goalies, which it would be believable, but one of them's Edouard Mendy,
Yeah.
who's no longer on the team. Newcastle's physicality, it's at St. James. Got to be feeling pretty good about that. You could kind of bully Chelsea, get them on the ropes early. You know?
Yeah, potentially.
Not to mention Enzo Fernandez coming off crunching tackle by Romero. Not super physical game with City, but he did that Argentina-Brazil game was nuts. So
Yeah.
I feel like there's a world in which like Enzo gets hurt for Chelsea. All I know is that if Chelsea get a penalty, Cole Palmer's going to slot it. And Kunku's supposed to maybe not return this game, but the game after. So we shall see. Just means your boy David Washington can't get out there.
Oh, dang.
Young Brazilian David Washington.
I think I'm gonna say 3-3 personally.
Wow. Chelsea only can play that way. So I believe it. I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle.
All right.
Forest Brighton. Very kind of aesthetically pleasing game to watch. Red and white versus blue and white.
Yeah. There you go.
It's a very stupid thing to say, but that's what I will say. That's my insight as far as this goes. Feeling good about Forest defense at home. Brighton, I just worry that there's something about Brighton this year where it's like we're gonna keep waiting for them to turn it on and click, and it's just not going to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a cheeky Forest 2-1 victory.
Yeah, I'm not really sold on Brighton right now with all the chopping and changing. I'm gonna say Forest 1-0.
Oh god, I thought you were gonna say 4. Like the score began with the 4. It's gonna be 4. Yeah, I got Forest 4-0.
4-0.
Sheffield Bournemouth. This game should be like you have to stream it on the dark web to watch this one.
Yeah.
Can Bournemouth keep it going?
I think there's a potential for Sheffield to kind of play the way that they did against Wolves and just kind of like stumble
Grind it out
into a win
midfield.
somehow.
Yeah. Grind
Like
it out
completely
midfield.
undeserved.
Low transition action. I could see it. I'm going to say Bournemouth keep it rolling, though. I'm going to go with Bournemouth with a juicy 2-1 victory.
I'm gonna say 0-0.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Brentford Arsenal. One of the teams that Arsenal typically has trouble with, except last year, the Georgia Tech Community Stadium. They really took it to them. I just don't know what to really expect with Arsenal. You know how I said I feel the most confident in Liverpool? Of the top teams really being, the main 3. Arsenal are obviously the team I feel less safe about.
Yeah.
They feel very up and down. Brentford can really take it to Arsenal, kind of grind them out. They'll pack the midfield. They love to do it. They love to put 5 in there. Kind of wear Arsenal down. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. If anything, it'd be a 2-1 Arsenal victory, but I'm going to go the 1-1 draw.
I think coming off the way that they played against Liverpool, I'm gonna say Arsenal 2-0 victory.
Okay. That's the thing, Sam. You can never reference Brentford's past games.
That's true.
Because they just are always, it's random. They're the most random team possible.
Other than
Tottenham
Chelsea.
Villa. Well, that's for sure. Tottenham and Villa.
This is a good one. This is kind of a litmus test game
For both teams.
as is the Man City Liverpool game.
Villa took the double last year against Tottenham.
Yeah, this
This
one
was
on the
one
road.
of the few games that this was one of the few games where Emery did take on the road.
Yeah,
1-2-0 against Conte's terrorism ball.
And honestly, with the Spurs injury crisis that they're going through, I think he's still got to favor Villa despite their poor road form this
way
season.
that Ainge had them set up against Wolves is not the way they should have been set up. But against a team like Villa, that setup might actually somewhat work.
Yeah.
So I wonder if, kind of playing into their hands, but I really don't trust Tottenham's defense with like Eric Dyer and stuff. Especially if Tottenham are forced into playing like Ollie Skip or something in midfield. I'm gonna go Villa 1-0.
I'll say Villa 2-1.
Everton and Man U. The road for the club of the future begins now, Sam.
True that, man. This would be such an epic start.
It's so funny. Everton's last 5 is 3 wins, a draw, and a loss. And they have to be at 4 points. Life isn't fair, Sam.
It ain't fair. But when's that ever stopped Everton?
When has that ever stopped Man U from winning games they shouldn't win?
True.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, more in form, I feel better about Everton than United. And I know you feel the same. Don't lie.
Yeah, I mean, at least with Everton, you know what you're getting. With United, I mean, I guess you do, but it's
just they're
trash.
gonna patch it together, and it's like it doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna go with United 2-1 because that's just the way the world works.
I'm gonna will an Everton win into existence.
Good.
I'm gonna say
We deserve it.
I'm going to say 3-1 Everton.
We deserve it. But finally, wrapping up the week, Fulham Wolves
Yeah, I'd like to see
at Craven
Wolves
Cottage.
capitalize on this weaker Fulham side. I mean, really, Fulham offer no attacking threat, so not a huge concern. More so, can Wolves break down the defense of Fulham? I think they can. I'm going to say 1-0 Wolves.
Yeah, I was gonna go 1-0. I feel like this game can't end 0-0. When's the last time a Monday game didn't have a goal? Or even a Friday game? That like never happens. With that said, I'm still gonna go with a 0-0 draw just because I want to be different. Because I was gonna pick 1-0 Wolves.
Okay.
So, what's your prediction for the week?
Jack Harrison brace.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Butter my
Make it
Everton
happen.
biscuit.
Make it happen, Jackie boy.
That's gonna wrap up the episode for the week. Great narrative pod as always.
Absolutely. We're back. The Premier League is back, and it's time to cook.
And it's staying for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Until then, keep on perusing, you perusers.
Keep on hatting. Keep on
Adios.
toffing.
Mis amigos. Keep on toffing.
Toffee-ing.
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 Put the toffee down now.